let's see if I got time to put this in here, Ted. Sometimes, when I open up a library, the tree of life creation is just, goes on forever. So I got to come back to the original point, and that had to do with when I shared with you about when my father shared with me about the golden rule. So I realized as a child, well, that makes common sense that if I'm out at sea and I'm rocking your boat, you might rock mine because I don't know how you're going to react. Now we're into reaction states. The online community is all about reaction states by virtue of what happens as a reaction state in a polarized state of consciousness between two magnetic poles holographically, visually, mathematically. What we experience at the completion of a circuit when we experience the holographic visual terrain when we're online, it is all about AI reaction states to the input signal. So in other words, it's one thing for my father to tell me, and I'm using basic logic to say, yes, I would say that basic logic informs me that if I'm not rocking your boat, I'm not giving you a reason to react in a negative way towards me, like negative, negentropic, parasitic reaction states, right? To generate anxiety in my nerves or anxiety in your nerves, right? The central nervous system. I'm not trying to upset your central nervous system so that all the waves, all the plasma waves, the equilibrium states are in equal balance with yours, which is zero. I'm not seeking to cause any turbulence in you, so I can use basic logic in a cellular processor, right? To acknowledge basic logic would inform me of that as the teacher, which is the experience. Do you want to now means test it? You might get a reaction state that you're not in favor of because some gangbanger might pull a weapon out on you and go bang, bang, bang. Yeah. Predicting reacting states, now we're into predictive behavioral programming, similar patterns, now we're into burn patterns, coded patterns, fire letter patterns of consciousness-directed fire letters running a DNA operating system. So in other words, it's one thing to acknowledge the truth, but I acknowledged as a child it's an entirely other matter, as in a matter state codes, in matter form and flow, to experience living that truth. So in other words, someone else can acknowledge it makes sense to experience what love is, because if you're experiencing what love is, you're not going to do any harm. So another unit of consciousness in the mirror could acknowledge the truth of that, because that would seem like basic logic would inform us of that. But that doesn't mean that they experience what love is. Are you experiencing pure, eternal, absolute love in your heart and your soul? Because if you are, then your state of awareness is high, because you're not wanting to do any harm to your inner cells. So if you're not doing any harm to your inner cells, then it stands to reason as logic you're not going to do any harm to other cells in your mirror. Because your cells are a mirror, as in water, as in water tables, conversion charts, right? So that's why I've always said I can explain and share what I've experienced. So it's just information of what I've learned by virtue of what I've experienced that I share with others. Now you know who I am. So we're learning through all the others. What we're all learning through each other, the direction, which is the spiral that we're all moving in. So we're mapping spirals, vortexes. That's why when I was a child, they're going in the wrong direction. That means I know the spiral that they're running, which is an AI spiral, which is a phantom time spiral. Because they're going nowhere fast to compact the molecular compaction of their cells, which is compression. You can only compress so much energy as units of consciousness that are all connected with each other running the same codes. like a massive black hole codes before it ultimately is going to implode. So you know it doesn't go on forever. So I used to tell this 14-year-old young man, I call it a limited shelf life, a limited edition, a limited model. Because the universe of consciousness is naturally seeking the least electrical density pathway to experience no work, to experience zero, which is no charge, which is non-polarized. In the matter, not in the matter. In the matter, not in the matter. Running the codes, not running the codes. Right? And the flashing light sequences, the speed at which circuits are completing a circuit, which is a magnetic moment, which is the moment. What does it feel like magnetically? So you know that when electric is joined as one, you're not noticing any difference in speed. That's why it's what I feel by virtue of what I create, which is the music that we play. Yeah.